When Keanu Reeves hired a new maid for his villa, he had no idea that she was homeless and struggling to survive. But what Keanu did after finding out her true state not only shocked her, but also countless people around the world who thought they knew the truth about celebrities like him. What hardships lay behind this woman's life? And how did Keanu react? The frigid December air bit through the thin metal of an old sedan, its windows frosted over with intricate patterns of ice. Inside, bundled under a threadbare blanket, Anna stirred from her fitful sleep. At 25, she had never imagined her life would come to this, calling a car in an abandoned alley her home. As consciousness crept in, Anna's eyes fluttered open, adjusting to the dim light filtering through the frost-covered windows. The first thing she saw was her breath, visible in the cold air of the car's interior. She pulled the worn blanket tighter around her shoulders, savoring its meager warmth for a moment longer, before facing the harsh reality of another day. The alley where she had parked her car was strategically chosen, tucked away behind the Golden Fork, a high-end bistro that unknowingly provided her with sustenance. Anna had been living this way for 6 months now, each day a struggle for survival, each night a battle against the cold and her own despair. Slowly Anna sat up, her muscles stiff from the cold and the cramped sleeping quarters. She reached for her most prized possession, a melamine plate she had salvaged from the trash. It was chipped at the edges, but to Anna, it represented a small piece of dignity in her otherwise desperate situation. As she prepared to face another day, Anna's eyes swept over the interior of her car. It was a far cry from a home, but she had done her best to make it livable. Carefully folded clothes occupied the passenger seat, while various necessities were neatly arranged in the back. Everything had its place in this tiny, mobile world of hers. Anna took a deep breath, steeling herself for the cold that awaited her outside. She had been wearing the same clothes for 5 days now, the fabric stiff with grime and the cold. Wrapping the thin, dirty blanket around her shoulders like a makeshift cloak, she clutched her melamine plate and pushed open the car door. The blast of frigid air that hit her face made her gasp. Snowflakes drifted lazily from the grey sky, adding to the already considerable accumulation on the ground. Anna's feet crunched in the snow as she made her way to the corner of the alley, her body hunched against the cold. As she approached the back door of the Golden Fork, Anna's eyes met those of the familiar kitchen hand. Over the past 6 months they had developed an unspoken arrangement. He nodded almost imperceptibly as Anna drew near, his eyes flickering to the garbage bag he had deliberately placed on the ground instead of in the bin. This small act of kindness warmed Anna's heart more than any fire could. She managed a grateful smile, her face stiff from the cold. The kitchen hand quickly disappeared back into the warmth of the bistro, leaving Anna alone with her morning meal. Crouching on the wet concrete, Anna carefully opened the black garbage bag. Experience had taught her that post-breakfast preparation yielded the best findings. Today was no exception. Unbroken pastries that didn't meet the bistro's exacting standards, freshly peeled vegetables, all still perfectly edible. With practiced movements, Anna arranged her findings on her melamine plate. Despite her circumstances, she took care to present her meal with as much dignity as possible. She ate with her hands, savoring each morsel, and mentally noting the quality of today's offerings. As she ate, Anna's mind wandered to how she had ended up in this situation. It had been a gradual descent, first losing her job, her mother fell to cancer, then losing her apartment, and finally ending up here. But through it all, she clung to the hope that things would get better, that she would find a way out of this alley and back into a normal life. For now, though, this was her reality. And as the snow continued to fall and the city slowly woke up around her, Anna finished her meal, grateful for another day of survival. As Anna finished her meager breakfast, she meticulously wiped her plate clean with her clothing, determined to maintain what little cleanliness she could in her situation. She then turned her attention back to the garbage bag, methodically searching through its contents. Her fingers, numbed by the cold, finally closed around the familiar shape of her phone. This too was part of her arrangement with the kitchen hand. Every night, he would charge her phone inside the bistro and return it to her in the morning, hidden among the refuse. It was a lifeline to the world beyond this alley, a reminder that she hadn't always lived like this. After tying the garbage bag and throwing it in the bin, Anna switched on her phone, carefully cleaning the screen of oil and food residue with the edge of her blanket. As she walked back to her car, she scrolled through her notifications, her heart skipping a beat when she saw a message from the Maid agency she had registered with 6 months ago. The agency had been a source of sporadic work for Anna, providing her with occasional jobs that helped her scrape by. The message, sent the previous night, offered weekend work at a specific address. It required her to wear her uniform, a detail that made Anna's heart lift with hope. Back at her car, Anna opened the trunk, revealing a carefully preserved Maid uniform, still wrapped in plastic and professionally pressed. The sight of it brought a lump to her throat. Despite living in her car, she had managed to maintain this one piece of professional dignity. She recalled with gratitude how the kitchen hand had helped her launder it just last week. As she unwrapped the uniform, the scent of detergent sealed within the plastic provided a stark contrast to her current state. It was a smell that belonged to another world, a world of cleanliness and order that seemed so far removed from her current reality. Anna changed into her uniform in the confined space of her car, the fabric feeling strange against her skin after days in the same dirty clothes. Once dressed, she turned the key in the ignition, her heart sinking as she checked the fuel gauge. The needle hovered dangerously close to empty, forcing her into a quick mental calculation. She could either spend her limited funds on gas or save them for more pressing needs. After a moment's hesitation, Anna decided to walk. She had enough time to reach her destination on foot, and every penny saved could go towards her mother's treatment. As she locked her car and set out on foot, Anna made a quiet promise to herself. Once she received payment from this job, she would set aside money for fuel. It was a small goal, but it gave her something to work towards, a tiny glimmer of hope in the midst of her struggles. The walk to her destination was long and cold, but Anna barely noticed the discomfort. Her mind was focused on the job ahead, on the possibility of earning money for her mother's treatment. With each step, she felt a little further from the alley and a little closer to the life she desperately wanted to reclaim. As she walked, Anna allowed herself to dream. Maybe this job would lead to more work. Maybe, just maybe, it could be the first step towards getting off the streets. She knew better than to get her hopes up too high, but she couldn't help the small spark of optimism that flickered in her chest. By the time she reached the address provided in the message, Anna's cheeks were flushed from the cold and exertion. She paused for a moment, taking in the sight of the imposing villa before her. It was a world away from the alley she called home, a reminder of the life she once had and hoped to have again. Taking a deep breath, Anna straightened her uniform and walked towards the entrance, ready to face whatever challenges this job might bring. For now, at least, she had a purpose, a reason to hold her head high. And for Anna, that was enough to keep going one day at a time. As Anna approached the villa, she was immediately struck by its grandeur. The stark contrast between this opulent residence and the alley she called home was almost overwhelming. She hesitated for a moment at the main gate, suddenly feeling out of place in her carefully preserved uniform. A security guard approached her, his eyes scanning her from head to toe. "Staff entrance is around back," he said gruffly, pointing towards a less ornate side of the building. Anna nodded, mumbling a quiet thank you as she made her way around the villa. The service entrance was a hive of activity. Other maids, all in crisp uniforms that made Anna suddenly self-conscious about her own, bustled about with purpose. She stood there for a moment, unsure of where to go or who to report to. "You there?" A sharp voice cut through the air. Anna turned to see a man striding towards her, his posture rigid and his eyes critical. "You must be the new temp. I'm Gordon Carfield, the supervisor here." Gordon's eyes raked over Anna's appearance, from her slightly disheveled hair to her worn shoes. His nose wrinkled slightly, and Anna felt a wave of shame wash over her. She knew she didn't smell fresh, despite her best efforts to stay clean. "Right," Gordon said, his tone clipped. "We can't have you working like this." He turned to another maid nearby. "Fetch me a bottle of body wash and shampoo." The items were tossed to him, and he thrust them into Anna's hands. Shower, now. Wash your hair, dry it, and secure it in a proper bun beneath your maid cap. You have 15 minutes. Anna stood there, stunned by the abrupt command. The other maids averted their eyes, clearly uncomfortable with the public dressing down. But beneath her embarrassment, Anna felt a flicker of gratitude. A proper shower was a luxury she hadn't experienced in months. "Well, what are you waiting for?" Gordon snapped. 14 minutes now." Anna hurried to the staff bathroom, her cheeks burning. The warm water of the shower was heavenly, and she found herself fighting back tears as she scrubbed away weeks of grime. She washed her hair twice, relishing the feeling of being truly clean. Exactly 15 minutes later, Anna emerged from the bathroom, her hair neatly tucked under her cap, feeling more human than she had in months. She joined the line of maids as Gordon began outlining the day's events. "Listen up," Gordon barked. "We have 2 events today. In a few hours, we'll have a group of guests arriving for a luncheon. This evening, there's an important networking event. I expect nothing short of perfection from each of you." He turned his attention to Anna. "As for you, newcomer, you'll be sweeping the backyard and cleaning the pool of debris. It's simple work, but crucial. Don't disappoint me." Anna nodded, determined to prove her worth even if she knew the guest won't use the pool in this cold weather. As the team dispersed to their duties, she collected her assigned tools from the supply closet, a garden broom and pool skimmer net. The weight of responsibility settled on her shoulders as she made her way to the backyard. The pool area was immaculate, a far cry from the grimy alley she was used to. Anna approached her task with determination, knowing that this job could mean another payment towards her mother's medical bills. She began sweeping the patio area, her movements careful and thorough. As she worked, Anna couldn't help but marvel at her surroundings. The manicured lawn, the sparkling pool, the elegant patio furniture. It all seemed like a dream. She thought about the people who lived here, wondering what their lives were like. Did they know how lucky they were? The sun climbed higher in the sky as Anna worked, warming her back in the cold weather as she swept and skimmed. Despite the menial nature of the task, she found a certain peace in the repetitive motions. For a few hours, she could forget about her troubles and focus solely on doing a good job. By the time she finished sweeping the patio and moved on to cleaning the pool, Anna was feeling more confident. She might be homeless, she might be struggling, but here in this moment, she was just another worker doing her job. And that, she realized, was something to be proud of. The afternoon sun met with chilled wind, brushed the rippling surface of the pool as Anna methodically worked the skimmer net across its surface. Dried leaves and petals collected in the mesh, transforming the icy cold water into an even more immaculate expanse. She moved with careful precision, determined to prove her worth through the thoroughness of her work. As she reached the deeper end of the pool, something caught her eye. A glint of metal at the bottom, too uniform to be a random piece of debris. Anna leaned closer, squinting against the sun's reflection on the water. The object's placement and shimmer suggested it was valuable jewelry rather than ordinary pool litter. Her heart raced as she considered the implications. Finding such an item could prove her attentiveness and honesty, qualities that might secure her a more permanent position. But first, she had to retrieve it. Anna's first instinct was to use the skimmer net, but as she dipped it into the water, the current only pushed the item further away. Swimming was out of the question. Her uniform would be ruined, and she couldn't risk being seen dripping wet in cold water. She stood at the pool's edge, mind racing through possible solutions. After a moment of contemplation, Anna returned to the pool supply closet. Her eyes scanned the shelves until they landed on a telescopic hook pole and a pool brush. A plan formed in her mind as she gathered the tools and returned to the poolside. With careful movements, Anna extended the pool brush into the water. She gently maneuvered it towards the glinting object, using subtle movements to guide the item closer to the pool's edge. Her brow furrowed in concentration, aware that one wrong move could send the jewelry skittering across the pool floor, out of reach. Once the item was close enough, Anna switched to the telescopic hook. With bated breath, she lowered the hook into the water. Time seemed to slow as she maneuvered the hook around the object. A bead of sweat trickled down her temple despite the cool air. Finally, she felt resistance. The hook had caught. Slowly, carefully, Anna raised the hook from the water. Dangling from its end was a bracelet, water droplets cascading from its links. She gently deposited it in her palm, her heart pounding with excitement and nervousness. The bracelet was exquisite, clearly expensive, and likely of great sentimental value to its owner. As Anna turned it over in her hands, she noticed an engraving on the inside of the band. Squinting, she made out the name Keanu Reeves. Anna's eyes widened in shock. Keanu Reeves, the famous actor. Was this his villa? Was she working for him? The realization made her dizzy with the implications. She had found a personal, valuable item belonging to one of the most beloved actors in Hollywood. For a moment, Anna stood frozen, the bracelet heavy in her hand. She knew she needed to return it immediately, but the thought of facing someone as famous as Keanu Reeves made her palms sweat. What if she was accused of trying to steal it? Pushing aside her fears, Anna knew what she had to do. She carefully polished the bracelet with the napkin from her uniform pocket, removing any pool residue until it shone in the sunlight. Then, steeling her nerves, she made the decision to enter the main house. As she walked towards the villa, bracelet clutched tightly in her hand, Anna's mind raced. This could be a turning point, she thought, a chance to prove her integrity, to show that she was trustworthy and attentive, or it could go horribly wrong, resulting in her immediate dismissal. Either way, she knew she had to try. With a deep breath, Anna stepped into the cool interior of the villa, ready to face whatever came next. The interior of the villa was a stark contrast to the bright sunlight outside. Anna blinked, allowing her eyes to adjust to the dimmer light as she stepped into the foyer. The opulence of her surroundings made her acutely aware of her position as a temporary maid, and she felt out of place among the expensive furnishings and artwork. Anna moved quietly through the unfamiliar house, her footsteps muffled by plush carpeting. She paced around the living area, wondering where she should put the bracelet. The dining table and coffee table seemed too casual for such a valuable item. She couldn't just leave it anywhere. The risk of it being misplaced or, worse, suspected of being stolen was too great. After a moment's hesitation, Anna decided that the master bedroom would be the most secure location. If she couldn't find Keanu Reeves himself, at least she could leave the bracelet somewhere private and safe. With this plan in mind, she made her way towards the stairs, her heart pounding with each step. The second-floor hallway was empty, the silence broken only by the soft tread of Anna's shoes on the hardwood floor. She opened doors one by one, peeking into guest rooms and studies, until she finally found what she assumed to be the master bedroom. Taking a deep breath to steady her nerves, Anna opened the door without knocking, a critical error born of her anxiety and unfamiliarity with proper protocol in such a setting. As the door swung open, she found herself face to face with Keanu Reeves himself. The actor was in the process of buttoning up a crisp white shirt, clearly getting ready for the upcoming event. He looked up, startled by the sudden intrusion, his eyes widening in surprise at the sight of Anna. Anna felt as if the floor had dropped out from under her. She stumbled backward, nearly tripping over her own feet in her haste to retreat. "I'm so sorry," she blurted out, her words tumbling over each other in a rushed apology. "I didn't mean to. I should have knocked. I'm so sorry, Mr. Reeves." Her mind raced with the potential consequences of her actions. Would she be fired on the spot? Reported to the agency? How would she pay for her mother's medical bills if she lost this job? The weight of her circumstances crashed down upon her, threatening to overwhelm her completely. To her surprise, Keanu's response was not one of anger, but of measured kindness. "It's all right," he said, his voice calm and reassuring. "Take a deep breath. Why don't you tell me why you're here?" Anna's hands shook as she held out the bracelet. I found this in the pool," she managed to say, her voice barely above a whisper. "I wanted to return it to you safely." Keanu's eyes lit up with recognition as he saw the bracelet. "I've been searching for this," he said, genuine gratitude in his voice. "I thought it was lost forever. I've almost forgotten about it." He stepped forward, gently taking the bracelet from Anna's trembling hands. "This was a gift from my mother. It means a great deal to me." The actor's sincere appreciation seemed to break through Anna's panic. Her rigid posture relaxed slightly, and she found herself able to breathe a little easier. "I'm glad I could return it to you," she said, a small smile tugging at the corners of her mouth. In the moment of relief that followed, Anna found herself speaking without thinking. "I understand how important family heirlooms can be," she said. "My mother, she has a few pieces of jewelry from her grandmother. They're not worth much, but they mean the world to her." As soon as the words left her mouth, Anna realized she was speaking far too personally with her employer. She felt heat rising to her cheeks, embarrassed by her oversharing. "I'm sorry," she said quickly, taking a step back towards the door. "I should get back to work." "Wait," Keanu called out, his voice gentle. "It's okay, you don't have to leave. We can continue our conversation if you'd like." But Anna, overwhelmed by the entire situation, couldn't bring herself to stay. "Thank you, Mr. Reeves, but I really should get back to my duties," she said, already halfway out the door. "I'm sorry again for the intrusion." As she hurried down the hallway, Anna's mind was a whirlwind of emotions. Relief at successfully returning the bracelet, embarrassment at her unprofessional behavior, and a lingering warmth from Keanu's kindness. She made her way back downstairs, determined to throw herself into her work and forget about the awkward encounter. Anna's heart was still racing as she made her way back to the backyard, her cheeks flushed with embarrassment from her encounter with Keanu Reeves. She tried to push the memory aside, focusing instead on the tasks at hand. There was work to be done, and she couldn't afford to let her mind wander. She retrieved the pool supplies from where she had left them, methodically continuing her cleaning duties. The repetitive motion of sweeping the back porch provided a welcome distraction. Anna threw herself into the work, removing every trace of debris. Food remains, dead insects, accumulated dust, and traces of snowflakes. She was determined to prove her worth through the thoroughness of her labor. As she moved on to sweeping the garden, Anna found a strange comfort in the physical exertion. She gathered all the debris and dust into a garbage bag, tying it securely before disposing of it outside. The simple act of cleaning, of making order out of chaos, helped to calm her frazzled nerves. By the time she finished her assigned tasks, the sun had climbed high in the sky, signaling that it was nearly noon. Anna's stomach growled, reminding her that she hadn't eaten since her meager breakfast in the alley. She pushed the thought aside, knowing she couldn't afford to think about food right now. With her duties completed, Anna sought out Gordon to report her progress. She found him in the kitchen, overseeing the preparation for the upcoming events. As she approached, she could see the stress etched on his face. His brow furrowed as he barked orders at the kitchen staff. "Excuse me, Mr. Carfield," Anna said tentatively. "I've finished sweeping the backyard and cleaning the pool area." Gordon turned to her, his eyes narrowing as he checked his watch. "It's 11 a.m., he said curtly. "You can take an early lunch break, but remember, you're temporary staff. You need to provide your own lunch, unlike the permanent employees." Anna's heart sank. In her rush to get to the job, she hadn't even thought about bringing food. I'm afraid I didn't bring anything," she admitted, her voice small. Gordon's expression hardened. "Didn't you read my message properly? It clearly stated you needed to bring your own meals." He sighed, clearly exasperated. "Fine, you have 40 minutes. Go buy something outside if you must, but be back on time. I need you to cover for the others when they take their lunch breaks later." As Gordon turned away, dismissing her, Anna felt a wave of panic wash over her. She had no money, and 40 minutes wasn't nearly enough time to walk to any affordable food options in the area. She stood there for a moment, frozen with indecision, before quietly excusing herself. Outside, Anna weighed her options. She could either go hungry or... Her eyes drifted towards the direction of the Golden Fork. It was a desperate move, but she saw no other choice. With a heavy heart, she began walking back to the alley she had left just hours ago. The irony of her situation wasn't lost on Anna. Here she was, working at a luxurious villa, yet she was about to dig through garbage for her lunch. As she approached the restaurant's bins, she felt a mixture of shame and determination. She had to eat something if she was going to make it through the rest of her shift. As Anna carefully opened one of the garbage bags, disaster struck. The bag, overfilled and poorly tied, burst open, spraying her clean uniform with putrid liquid. She jumped back with a cry of dismay, but it was too late. Her carefully maintained professional appearance was ruined, and the smell was overwhelming. Panic set in immediately. Her break time was running short, and now she was covered in garbage. How could she possibly return to the villa in this state? Tears stung Anna's eyes as she realized the gravity of her situation. She had to find a solution, and fast. With trembling hands, Anna tried to clean herself as best she could with some napkins she found in the alley, but it was a futile effort. The stains were set, and the smell clung to her clothes. As she hurried back towards the villa, her mind raced with possible explanations, each one sounding more implausible than the last. Time was running out, and Anna knew she had to face the consequences of her actions. As she approached the villa, she silently prayed that she could slip in unnoticed and somehow salvage the situation. But deep down she knew that her hopes for keeping this job and for helping her mother were quickly slipping away. As Anna approached the villa's entrance, her heart pounding with anxiety, she was met with a sight that made her blood run cold. A group of well-dressed individuals were making their way up the driveway. Keanu's guests arriving for the first event of the day. Anna froze, caught between the desire to hide and the knowledge that she needed to return to work. Before she could decide on a course of action, one of the guests spotted her. The woman's eyes widened in shock, taking in Anna's stained uniform and the unmistakable odor that surrounded her. "Oh my God!" the woman exclaimed, her voice carrying across the driveway. "What is that smell?" The other guests turned to look, their reactions ranging from disgust to outright horror. Some covered their noses, while others backed away, creating a wide berth around Anna. She stood there, mortified, as the guests hurried past her into the villa, their excited chatter about the upcoming event replaced by murmurs of disgust and confusion. Just when Anna thought the situation couldn't get any worse, she saw Keanu himself emerge from the front door. He was dressed impeccably in a formal suit, ready to greet his guests. His eyes widened as he took in the scene before him, his guests recoiling in horror, and Anna standing alone, covered in garbage and looking utterly defeated. To his credit, Keanu's composure never faltered. He quickly stepped in, assuring his guests that the situation would be handled professionally. "Please, go on inside," he said smoothly. "My staff will take care of everything. I apologize for any inconvenience." Before Anna could react, a commotion from the service entrance caught her attention. Gordon had emerged, his face purple with rage as he stormed towards Anna. "What in God's name have you done?" Gordon bellowed, grabbing Anna's arm and dragging her towards the back of the house. His grip was tight, his fingers digging into her skin as he pulled her along. "Have you been eating dog poo or swimming in a pig pen for 40 minutes? Anna tried to explain, her words coming out in a jumbled mess as tears threatened to spill from her eyes. But Gordon wasn't interested in explanations. He continued to berate her, his voice carrying through the service area, ensuring maximum humiliation for Anna. "I gave you one simple job," Gordon ranted, "one job to grab lunch and return here. And you managed to ruin it spectacularly. Do you have any idea what you've done? Those are important guests you've offended." Without waiting for a response, Gordon shoved Anna towards the shower room. "Clean yourself up," he spat, "and pray that Mr. Reeves doesn't fire us all because of your incompetence." Trembling, Anna entered the shower room. As the door closed behind her, she finally allowed the tears to fall. She stripped off her ruined uniform, her movements mechanical as she stepped under the hot spray of water. The warmth did little to comfort her, as she scrubbed her skin raw, trying to remove every trace of the garbage and the shame that clung to her. When she emerged from the shower, Anna found a replacement uniform waiting for her, but as she put it on, she realized with dismay that it was noticeably too small. The tight fit restricted her movement, particularly around her arms and waist, but she had no choice. It was either this or nothing. Gordon was waiting for her when she stepped out of the shower room, his eyes raked over her ill-fitting uniform, his lip curling in disgust. "Let me make this perfectly clear," he said, his voice low and threatening. "One more incident like this and you're out. No second chances, no excuses. Do you understand?" Anna nodded mutely, unable to meet his eyes. "Good," Gordon snapped. "Now get to the foyer. You're on canapé arrangement duty, and I swear, if even one pastry is out of place, you'll regret the day you ever set foot in this house." As Gordon stormed off, Anna made her way to the foyer, her steps heavy with dread. She knew that her chances of keeping this job were hanging by a thread, and with it, her hopes of helping her mother seemed to be slipping away. As she began arranging the canapés according to the labeled positions, Anna tried to focus solely on the task at hand. But in the back of her mind, a voice whispered that perhaps she wasn't cut out for this after all. Perhaps, it suggested, she was destined to remain in that alley, scrounging for meals and sleeping in her car. Anna shook her head, trying to dispel these thoughts. She couldn't give up. Not now. Not ever. With renewed determination, she threw herself into her work, determined to prove to Gordon, to Keanu, and most importantly to herself, that she was capable of more than they knew. As Anna meticulously arranged the canapés, her hands trembling slightly from the stress of the day, she heard footsteps approaching. Looking up, she saw Keanu making his way towards her, his expression a mixture of concern and curiosity. Anna felt her cheeks flush with embarrassment, remembering their earlier encounter and her current disheveled state. "How are you doing?" Keanu asked, his voice gentle and free from judgment. "I wanted to check on you after what happened outside." Anna swallowed hard, forcing herself to meet his gaze. "I'm fine, Mr. Reeves, thank you for asking. I'm so sorry for the trouble I've caused." Keanu waved off her apology. "These things happen, what's important is how we handle them." He paused, studying her for a moment before continuing. "If you don't mind me asking, what exactly happened? You seemed fine earlier when you returned my bracelet." The kindness in his voice nearly undid Anna. For a moment she was tempted to tell him everything, about her homelessness, her desperate search for food in the alley, the accident with the garbage. But fear held her back. Instead, she fabricated a story about spilled takeout food, her eyes downcast as she lied to her employer. "I see," Keanu said, and Anna couldn't tell if he believed her or not. "Well, don't worry about it too much. As I said, these things happen." He then went on to explain the importance of the evening's gathering. "We'll have even more VIP guests arriving later. It's crucial that everything is perfect." Despite the pressure inherent in his words, Keanu's gentle manner made Anna even more determined to prove herself worthy of his trust. "I understand, Mr. Reeves," Anna said, straightening her posture. "I won't let you down." Keanu smiled warmly. "I'm sure you won't. Keep up the good work." With that, he turned and walked away, leaving Anna to her task. As she returned to arranging the canapés, Anna felt a renewed sense of purpose. The stark difference between Keanu's management style and Gordon's harsh approach wasn't lost on her. It made her all the more determined to excel in her duties. However, just as Anna was settling into a rhythm with her work, her phone began to ring. She hesitated, knowing she shouldn't answer while on duty, but something compelled her to check the caller ID. Her heart dropped when she saw it was the hospital. With shaking hands, Anna answered the call, stepping away from the canapé table. "Hello," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Is this Anna?" A nurse's voice came through the line. "I'm calling about your mother, Mrs. Rosa. I'm afraid there's been a complication." The world seemed to tilt on its axis as Anna listened to the nurse explain that her mother had developed severe internal bleeding in her gastrointestinal tract. The condition was critical. Her mother was experiencing intense abdominal pain, dizziness, and dangerously low blood pressure. "We need to perform emergency surgery immediately," the nurse explained, her voice urgent. "Without it, there's a risk of organ failure or, the outcome could be very serious. We need your consent for the procedure." Anna felt as if she were underwater, the nurse's words reaching her through a haze of shock and fear. She managed to give her consent, her mind racing with the implications of this news. As she ended the call, Anna found herself torn between her professional obligations and her mother's life-threatening situation. She looked around the lavish foyer, at the carefully arranged canapés, at the signs of wealth and comfort that surrounded her. And then she thought of her mother, alone in a hospital bed, fighting for her life. In that moment, Anna made a decision. Without a word to anyone, she set down her serving tray and walked out of the villa. She knew she was likely sacrificing her job, knew that Gordon would never forgive this transgression, but none of that mattered now. All that mattered was getting to the hospital, being there for her mother when she needed her most. As Anna hurried down the driveway, her ill-fitting uniform restricting her movements, she sent up a silent prayer. She prayed for her mother's recovery, for the strength to face whatever came next, and for forgiveness from Keanu, from Gordon, and from herself, for abandoning her post. With each step that took her further from the villa and closer to the hospital, Anna felt a mixture of fear and resolve mixed in the cold afternoon air. She didn't know what the future held, but she knew she was doing the right thing, and for now that had to be enough. The hospital corridors seemed endless as Anna rushed towards the intensive care unit, her heart pounding in her chest. The smell of disinfectant and the sound of beeping machines filled her senses, a stark reminder of the gravity of her mother's condition. As she approached the nurse's station, a kind-faced woman looked up. "Are you Anna?" she asked, recognition dawning in her eyes. When Anna nodded, the nurse's expression softened. "Your mother is out of surgery. The doctors were able to stop the bleeding and she's stable for now." Relief flooded through Anna, making her knees weak. She leaned against the counter. Relief flooded through Anna, making her knees weak. She leaned against the counter, taking deep breaths to steady herself. "Can I see her?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. The nurse nodded. "She's still unconscious, but you can sit with her for a few minutes. Follow me." As Anna followed the nurse to her mother's room, the reality of her situation began to sink in. She had left her job without notice, potentially burning bridges with both the agency and Keanu Reeves. But as she caught sight of her mother's pale form in the hospital bed, tubes and wires connecting her to various machines, Anna knew she had made the right choice. She approached the bed slowly, gently taking her mother's hand in hers. "I'm here, Mum," she whispered, tears welling up in her eyes. "You're going to be okay." After a few moments of quiet reflection, the nurse gently touched Anna's shoulder. "I'm sorry, but I need to go over some paperwork with you," she said apologetically. "It's about the emergency operation and ongoing care." Anna nodded, reluctantly leaving her mother's side to follow the nurse back to the station. As they went through the forms, the enormity of the medical bills became apparent. The emergency surgery alone was more than Anna could hope to earn in a year, let alone the ongoing treatment her mother would need. As she stared at the numbers on the page, feeling overwhelmed and hopeless, her phone began to ring. Anna's heart sank as she saw Gordon's name on the caller ID. With a trembling hand, she answered the call. "Where the hell are you?" Gordon's angry voice blared through the speaker, loud enough that Anna had to hold the phone away from her ear. "You left in the middle of your shift without a word. Do you have any idea how unprofessional that is?" Anna tried to explain, her words coming out in a rush. "I'm so sorry, Mr. Carfield. There was an emergency with my mother. She needed urgent surgery and—" "I don't want to hear your excuses," Gordon cut her off. "You were warned about this. I told you one more incident and you'd be out. Well, consider yourself fired. Get your trashy stuff here and don't expect a reference from us." Before Anna could respond, Gordon had hung up. She stood there, phone still pressed to her ear, feeling as if the ground had disappeared from beneath her feet. She had known this was a possibility when she left, but the reality of it hit her hard. With shaking hands, Anna completed the hospital paperwork, her mind racing with concerns about how she would pay the bills, especially now that she had lost her job and likely her agency's future support. The nurse, sensing her distress, gave her a sympathetic look. "There are payment plans available," she said gently, "and we can discuss options for financial assistance if needed." Anna nodded numbly, thanking the nurse before making her way back to her mother's room. As she sat by the bed, holding her mother's hand, she felt utterly lost. She had sacrificed everything to be here, and while she didn't regret it, the weight of her circumstances pressed down on her. After spending some time with her mother, Anna realized she needed to retrieve her belongings from the villa. With a heavy heart, she kissed her mother's forehead and promised to return soon. The journey back to the villa felt like a walk of shame. As she approached the service entrance, Anna saw Keanu stepping out of his car. Their eyes met, and Anna saw a mixture of concern and disappointment in his gaze. "Anna," he said, his voice gentle but firm, "I was worried when you disappeared. Gordon told me what happened. I have to say I'm disappointed. I thought we had a good conversation earlier about the importance of today's events." Anna felt tears welling up in her eyes. "I'm so sorry, Mr. Reeves," she began, her voice cracking. "My mother, I know I should have said something, but—" She trailed off, unable to put the sentences out. Keanu's expression softened slightly, but before he could respond, Gordon appeared, his face red with anger. "I'm sorry, Mr. Reeves," Gordon said to Keanu. "I'll talk to my staff about their service quality. I'll make sure this won't happen again." He bowed and excused himself. Anna followed, bowing deeper before she went with Gordon. Gordon pulled Anna into the back service area and closed the door. "Let me make this clear. You're not welcome in my agency anymore. You've proven that you're unreliable and not fit for this kind of work." Anna flinched at his harsh words, but she knew she had to stand her ground. "I just came to collect my things," she said quietly. "My uniform and shoes from earlier." Gordon scoffed. "They're by the security post. We had to put them outside because of the smell. Take them and go." As Anna moved to retrieve her belongings, she felt Keanu's eyes on her. She wanted to explain, to tell him about her homelessness, her mother's illness, the impossible choice she had faced. But the words wouldn't come. Instead, she gathered her soiled clothes, clutching them to her chest like a shield. "I apologize for letting you down, Mr. Reeves," she said softly, not meeting his eyes. "It's true what Gordon said. I wasn't fit for this kind of job. Thank you for the opportunity." With that, Anna turned and walked away from the villa, away from the job that had given her a glimmer of hope, and back towards the uncertain future that awaited her. As she left, she couldn't shake the feeling that she had just lost something more than just a job. She had lost a chance at a better life. The harsh afternoon light seemed to mock Anna as she made her way back to her car, still parked in the alley behind the Golden Fork. The familiar confines of her mobile home, once a sanctuary of sorts, now felt more like a prison. As she climbed into the driver's seat, the events of the day crashed over her like a tidal wave. She had lost her job, potentially burned bridges with the agency, and was now facing astronomical medical bills for her mother's treatment. The weight of it all was crushing, and Anna found herself breaking down, tears streaming down her face as she gripped the steering wheel. "How could I be so stupid?" she berated herself, her voice choked with sobs. "I had a chance, a real chance at Keanu Reeves's villa, and I blew it. How am I going to help Mom now?" As her tears subsided, leaving her feeling hollow and drained, Anna became acutely aware of the gnawing hunger in her stomach. She realized with a start that she hadn't eaten since her meager breakfast that morning. Despite her earlier humiliation, basic survival necessitated another trip to the Golden Forks alley. With a heavy heart, Anna retrieved her trusty melamine plate from the passenger seat. This plate, salvaged from the trash months ago, had become a symbol of her daily struggle. She stepped out of the car, her movements slow and defeated, as she began the all-too-familiar walk to the restaurant's back alley. As she approached the bins, a car suddenly pulled up nearby. Anna froze, her heart racing as she recognized the sleek vehicle. The door opened, and Keanu Reeves stepped out, his eyes widening as he took in the sight before him. Anna stood there, paralyzed with shame and fear. Gone was the neatly uniformed maid Keanu had encountered earlier. In her place stood a woman clearly living on the streets, clutching a chipped plate and about to dig through garbage for her next meal. "Anna?" Keanu's voice was soft, filled with confusion and concern. "What are you doing here?" The question, innocent as it was, broke something inside Anna. She gestured weakly towards her car, parked a short distance away. "I live here," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Keanu's eyes followed her gesture, taking in the old sedan with its makeshift curtains and the pile of belongings visible through the windows. Understanding dawned on his face as he pieced together the reality of Anna's situation. Unable to bear his gaze any longer, Anna felt the last of her composure crumble. Tears began to fall once more, as the truth she had tried so hard to hide came pouring out. "I'm so sorry," she sobbed. "I didn't mean to lie to you, I needed the job so badly. My mother, she's sick, leukemia, and now she's had this emergency surgery, and I don't know how I'm going to pay for it. I left without saying anything because I was scared and I didn't know what else to do. I've ruined everything, and now I have nothing left to lose." As Anna's words tumbled out, Keanu's expression shifted from shock to deep compassion. He took a step towards her, his hand outstretched as if to offer comfort, but hesitated, unsure of how to proceed. "Anna," he said gently, "I had no idea. Why didn't you tell me?" She shook her head, unable to meet his eyes. "How could I? I was ashamed. I didn't want anyone to know how far I'd fallen. And then when everything went wrong today, I panicked." Keanu was silent for a moment, processing everything he had learned. When he spoke again, his voice was filled with a determination that made Anna look up. "Come with me," he said, gesturing towards his car. "We need to talk, and this isn't the place to do it." Anna hesitated, torn between her ingrained caution and the desperate hope that Keanu might be offering her a lifeline. In the end, the hope won out. With a small nod, she followed him to his car, leaving behind the alley that had been her source of sustenance for so long. As they drove away, Anna couldn't help but wonder what this unexpected turn of events would mean for her future. Had she reached rock bottom only to find an unexpected hand reaching out to help her up? Or was this merely a brief respite before she had to face the harsh reality of her situation once more? With these questions swirling in her mind, Anna sat silently in Keanu's car, heading towards an uncertain destination and an even more uncertain future. The interior of Keanu's car was a world away from Anna's makeshift home. The leather seats were soft and comfortable. The heater was warm in this cold weather, a welcome relief from the chilly afternoon. As they drove, Anna found herself opening up, the words pouring out of her as if a dam had broken. She told Keanu everything, about her mother's leukemia diagnosis, the mounting medical bills that had led to her homelessness, and the desperate measures she had taken to survive. When she explained about her mother's emergency blood clot situation, Keanu's demeanor shifted noticeably. "I'm so sorry, Anna," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "I understand more than you might think. My sister, we lost her to leukemia." Anna's eyes widened in surprise. "I had no idea," she said softly. "I'm sorry for your loss." Keanu nodded, a sad smile on his face. "It was a long time ago, but the pain never really goes away. That's why I started a cancer charity. I wanted to help other families going through what we did." As they pulled up to the villa, Anna felt a mixture of anxiety and hope. Keanu, still sitting at the driver's seat, turned to her, his expression serious but kind. "I've made some decisions, Anna. I want to help you." He outlined his plan. He would reinstate her job, but this time directly under his employment, bypassing the agency to ensure she received full pay. "You'll finish the evening's event preparation," he said. "There's still plenty of daylight left to get everything done." Anna's heart soared at his words, but Keanu wasn't finished. "Furthermore," he continued, "I want to cover your mother's medical bills through my cancer charity. I understand the financial burden of this disease all too well, and I want to help." Tears welled up in Anna's eyes, overwhelmed by Keanu's generosity. "Mr. Reeves, I don't know what to say. Thank you doesn't seem enough." Keanu smiled warmly. "You can start by calling me Keanu, and there's no need to thank me. We're all human, Anna. We all need help sometimes." As they got out of the car, Anna suddenly remembered her appearance. "I should change into my clean uniform first," she said. Keanu shook his head. "You don't need to wear that uniform anymore. You're not with the agency now. You're my staff. We'll get you a new uniform." As Anna got her bag from the seat, she noticed her eyes drifting towards a leftover sandwich on the coffee compartment. Keanu, ever observant, recognized her hunger immediately. "I'll request the staff to prepare lunch for you." "Thank you," she whispered, recalling Gordon's word about only permanent staff got to eat in-house. As Keanu stepped out of his car, Anna felt a mixture of nervousness to see Gordon again and determination to make his new employers proud. The memory of her earlier humiliation was still fresh, but Keanu's kindness had given her renewed strength. They walked together towards the service entrance, where Gordon was waiting, his face a mask of barely contained fury. "Mr. Reeves," Gordon began, his voice tight with suppressed anger, "I have kicked this woman out earlier, and here she comes back." "She is with me, Gordon. I picked her up," Keanu said. But why? This woman abandoned her post during a crucial event preparation. She cannot be allowed to... Keanu held up a hand, silencing Gordon mid-sentence. "I'm aware of the situation, Gordon, and I've made my decision. Anna will be staying on, working directly for me." Gordon's face turned an alarming shade of red. "But sir, the agency..." "Will no longer be needed," Keanu finished firmly. "In fact, I'm terminating our contract with your agency after today's event. Your services are no longer required." The look of shock on Gordon's face was almost comical. He opened and closed his mouth several times, seemingly at a loss for words. Finally, he managed to sputter. But who will manage the staff? Who will ensure everything runs smoothly?" Keanu turned to a man standing nearby, Micah, his butler. "Micah will be taking over those responsibilities momentarily. He'll also be in charge of training Anna properly." Micah, a tall man with kind eyes, stepped forward with a nod. "It would be my pleasure, sir." Gordon, realizing he had lost this battle, stormed off without another word. Anna watched him go, a weight lifting from her shoulders. She turned to Keanu, gratitude shining in her eyes. "Thank you," she said softly. "I won't let you down." Keanu smiled warmly. "I know you won't. Now let's get you settled in." Micah led Anna to a small but comfortable room in the staff quarters. "This will be your room," he explained. "You'll find everything you need here. Once you're settled, I'll show you your duties for tonight's event." As Anna looked around the room, a real bed, a wardrobe, even a small desk, she felt overwhelmed. This was more than just a job. It was a lifeline, a chance to rebuild her life. Over the next few hours, Micah patiently trained Anna in her new duties. His approach was gentle and thorough, a stark contrast to Gordon's harsh methods. He ensured she understood every aspect of her role, from the proper way to serve guests to the intricacies of event preparation. "Remember," Micah said kindly, "you can always come to me or Mr. Reeves if you have any concerns or questions. We're here to support you." Anna nodded gratefully. "I promise I won't run off again without notice," she said, her cheeks flushing with embarrassment at the memory. Keanu patted her shoulder reassuringly. "I understand why you did. Just remember, communication is key. We're all on the same team here." As the evening's event approached, Anna threw herself into the preparations with renewed energy. Her earlier experiences, finding Keanu's bracelet, her attention to detail, now served her well as she worked alongside the other staff members. The event itself was a whirlwind of activity. Anna moved among the guests, serving drinks and hors d'oeuvres with a grace she didn't know she possessed. She caught Keanu's eye several times throughout the evening, and each time he gave her an encouraging smile. As the last guests departed and the staff began the clean-up process, Anna felt a deep sense of satisfaction. She had faced numerous challenges throughout the day, but she had persevered. More than that, she had found understanding and support when she least expected it. Keanu approached her as she was finishing up her tasks. "You did wonderfully tonight, Anna," he said warmly. "How are you feeling?" Anna smiled, a genuine, heartfelt smile that reached her eyes. "I feel hopeful," she said. "For the first time in a long while, I feel like things might actually be okay." Keanu nodded, understanding in his eyes. "Your mother's medical care is being taken care of as we speak. Tomorrow we'll go to the hospital together to check on her if you'd like." Tears welled up in Anna's eyes, but this time they were tears of joy and relief. "Thank you," she whispered. "I don't know how I'll ever repay you for your kindness." "You don't have to," Keanu said gently. "Just keep doing your best, and that's all the repayment I need." As Anna made her way back to her new room that night, she felt a profound sense of gratitude. Her life had changed dramatically in the span of a single day. She was no longer homeless, no longer alone in her struggles. She had a job, a purpose, and most importantly, hope for the future. As she lay in bed thinking about visiting her mother the next day and the new life stretching out before her, Anna made a silent promise to herself. She would make the most of this second chance, working hard and never forgetting the kindness that had been shown to her.